the basic needs. When somebody starts talking about, oh yeah, when you get this printer and it does this and bed leveling and yada, and you're like, what the fuck is all this? And yes, it's all stuff that you need to know. It's all stuff that you're gonna learn, but
So I
some
should probably have a chat with my buddy who has his 3D printer literally in a closet in his office in a room with no windows.
uh I mean, if it's a resin printer, absolutely. I think with the in
It's a PLA printer.
okay, well with the PLA, I think you're fine as long as one you're not. So it takes a fairly high temperature to reach the boiling point, not the melting point. We print at the melting point, but there is a boiling point where it starts to sizzle and literally boils the PLA, which tosses a lot of microplastic into the air. So
Hmm.
if you're printing it too high of a temperature and it's throwing off all this microplastic into the air, and if he's printing in the closet but he's sitting in there in a chair watching his print and it's too hot, yeah, he's probably breathing in a lot of microplastics. I mean, I the best recommendation is anything that you do like that, 3D printing or even airbrushing and painting and stuff like it, all needs to be done in somewhat of a well ventilated area. But I have seen where people have turned like storage closets into a place to put their 3D printers out of the way, out of sight, and kind of be there. But they've also done some sort of ventilation for it, because it's definitely not going to be uh, good over long periods of time to keep doing that in a small non unventilated area, and definitely not with resin at all. Combustion is where VOC come from with PLA. Well said. That's right.
Okay.
So,
PLA
but
is really temperature sensitive too, right? Like that's how what I think that's what happened to our 3D printer. My ex roommate was using it
mhm.
and testing stuff and broke it. I was like, "Oh, I'll fix it. I'll fix it." Um, and then said, "Oh no, wait, your basement was too cold." Like we had like a big wide open room in our basement, and it was
Right.
like half submerged, not like a like completely underground basement. And he was like, "Oh no, no, it's just because your basement's so cold that it broke." And then proceeded to buy his own 3D printer when he moved out and never touched it again.
Um, I,
So was
so
that what he telling me there? What he was telling me there actually true, or was I just being punked?
um, I mean, obviously you run into some elements in printing in cold weather, but it wouldn't break your printer. If anything, so I know that even on my FDM machines, which are the ones you print PLA and stuff with, so on the FDM machines, usually if it's colder, you might get an issue with like bed adhesion, with like it sticking to the plate. Um, but most of the printers have heated beds, and for the most part, as long as the bed is heated up to 60 degrees or somewhere around there, you should be fine. That's not to say, because
Hello,
I've
motherfucker.
definitely had times where it wasn't. Hello, motherfucker, to you. And now they have things like PI sheets, flexible PI sheets that have a little more like of a rough surface to grab onto. But I will tell you this: printing in cold weather or in a cold basement or a cold garage with resin, not going to happen. The resin
Oh
gets
no, resin. That makes sense.
the resin gets too thick.
Hmm.
Like the temperature actually, like resin needs to be like an ambient temperature of like 72 to 74 degrees. Anything below that, and you'll be pushing your luck about it printing at all. I got a lot of print failures learning on a resin printer, especially, even during the summer, I would have the air conditioner on so cold in the house that in the room that I was running my resin printer on, the room would be like 68 degrees, and I was like, man, why ain't this working? Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, let's see, that's one reason why I started your group, so anybody could ask questions or DM instead of people saying check others' posts. I'll spend time with them on Messenger, sending little videos and explaining. Because when I started, I found it hard in a lot of groups that but the best part is those same people that give you grief now come asking for help. Yeah. Took 400 grit to your Prusa PI sheet, and then printing on the same side since 2018. Yeah, and that's with the PI sheets, you know, you can get away with that. With a glass bed, you could get away with that for a little bit, but then it's gonna just straight up ruin the bed. But I've seen people sand their glass beds, and I don't recommend that.
Idiot question. What is a PEI sheet?
So if you look at the print that's going, actually, here I'll show you. So on this other printer that's already printed, so instead of the bed being made out of the glass